Hello there, my name is Sian and I'm from Counting What Counts, and today I am going to be showing you how to use the Culture Counts platform to complete your Impact and Insight Toolkit evaluations for Arts Council. So I'm going to start here on the Impact and Insight Toolkit website. You will see here that the address bar says impactandinsight.co.uk. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on here, but I wanted to start here because this is a really handy way for you to access your account. Okay, so what you'll do, if you see this lovely orange button saying sign in, you will click on that just there. And that will take you to a page that looks very much like this. So this is then the sign in page. Okay, so you will need to log in with the email address and password that either myself or my colleague Simone will have provided you with. So let's just click on sign in. No, thank you, not for the moment. Okay, so I've signed in and I can see here that I have a nice little tip on the Culture Counts platform. Okay, and what you'll also notice on the left-hand side is the Arts Council mandatory evaluation template for copying use only. Okay, so I suppose the first thing that I'm going to tell you here is that this is where any evaluation that you are a part of will be displayed in this column down the left-hand side. So an evaluation is essentially a folder, okay, and you would typically have one evaluation or one folder per event or project that you're evaluating. Okay, so we're going to start like this: new evaluation. And because I am incredibly imaginative, my evaluation is going to have the name My Event 123. You can call it whatever you like, but I do definitely suggest that it is the name of the work that you are going to be evaluating using the toolkit. Click on Create Evaluation. And here we go, you see it's popped up over on the left-hand side. So within an evaluation, you will have multiple surveys. And these surveys will be designed for either different respondent types or different time categories, and we'll get more into that in just a minute. So what I'm now going to draw your attention to is the template here. So this will have been here when you first logged on. Now the reason that this is so useful, I'm going to click on it now, is because this template includes everything that you need in order to complete your mandatory evaluations for Arts Council. Okay, so in the evaluation template, there are 3 surveys. A pre-event survey for self-respondents, so that survey is to be taken before the event takes place and by self-assessors. Okay, self-assessors, somebody that has been directly involved in the curation or creation of the work. All right, we have here post-event survey for self and peer. Okay, so post-event, so to be taken afterwards. Self, we've just said who they are, people that are directly involved in the work. Peer, people that are not directly involved in the work, but that you highly value and respect their professional opinion. Okay, there's so much guidance on who should be a peer available, and I will direct you to that later. But for the time being, just know that this second one here is for self and peer, and you can see over here it's post. And then finally, we have the survey for public respondents, which is a survey type standard. And as you can imagine, the survey for public respondents is to be completed by those that are audience members or visitors or attendees or viewers, or whichever word it is that you want to use to describe those people that are going to be experiencing your work. All right, so let's just show you what you do now. So as I've said, the great thing about this template is that it includes everything you need, and that includes the set questions that Arts Council are asking you to use. So in order to transfer this into your own evaluation, we're going to use a super useful copy feature. So let's start with the top one. I'm going to click on Edit, Copy, and you can name it. So I'm going to call it My Event. As I said, I am feeling very imaginative today. I'm going to take off the word copy. I don't think it looks great. And I'm going to copy it into my evaluation. Okay, so this is basically like copying and pasting. Click on copy survey and it will have moved over. And then we'll do this one as well. And this is exactly what you'll need to do, okay? You will need to essentially copy and paste. So you are copying the surveys in the template and you are pasting them into your own evaluation that you've just created. So now if I go over to my own evaluation, you will see that the 3 surveys have been successfully copied. Fantastic. Okay, so let's just start with the post-event survey for self and peer respondents. Let's try this one. Oh, actually, before we go to that, I would just like to draw your attention to this little tab up here. Now, you can see there that I nearly missed it, and this is something that we have actually noticed that users of the platform has been doing as well. But it is important that we make the most of this. Again, it's a new feature called properties. Here we go. So, with properties, you can essentially add tags to your evaluation. And these are great because firstly, it will provide you and your relationship manager with more context on how to interpret the evaluation when it gets submitted, but also be really useful for analysis later on. So as you saw a minute ago, it is pretty easy to sort of skip over it, but that's why I wanted to make sure that I came back to it. So this piece of work is an event. What type of event? It's going to be a festival, why not? And then you say which art forms it's going to include. So it's going to be combined arts, really. That works well. Oh, with an emphasis on dance, why not? There you go, that will do for now. You can add some keywords if you like. I'm actually not going to worry about that just yet. I'm going to click Save. And then on the location, let's pop it. Let's have that this is an event in the New Forest, just for fun. Now, because this is before the event has taken place, I actually don't know what the attendance figures will be, so I'm going to leave that blank. Now, what you need to know is that you can come back to this properties section at any time, all right? So if you don't have time to start to do this section when you're first setting up your evaluation, don't worry about it. You can always pop back, and as I'm sure you're aware, you will definitely need to come back to it in order to pop in the attendance figures anyway. Okay, so now I've done this properties tab, let's go back to surveys. So I am going to select the post-event survey for self and peer respondents. And this is just because this is the one I'm going to show you how to work everything on. So you'll see I've been taken through to the summary page automatically. But I'm going to actually zip back to this configure tab. Let's click on that. Now here, you can change the name of your survey. So I'm going to take off this word copy because I don't think that looks very good. What you need to know is that this survey name is what will be displayed to people that are taking your survey. Okay, so if you just leave it as survey for public copy, that doesn't seem to me to be particularly interesting. And if I were a potential respondent, I might not feel inclined to take it. Whereas if it says, Organisation X really wants to hear your opinion on event Y, then I'm much more likely to click on it, okay? I'm going to feel that it's more personal to my own experiences, which will make me want to click on it, okay? So I do definitely encourage you to change the survey name. Also over here, there's a start date and a close date. So the start date and closing date are really useful features if you want to be able to sort of control when people will be able to take your survey, okay? Now, again, this is one of those features, some people really like it because of that sort of element of control that is given there. Other people prefer to not use it because they want to be in control of when the survey gets is made available to people. Okay, and it really is entirely up to you. I'm just going to leave it blank, but you are welcome to pop dates in should you choose. And again, there's a box here for a survey introduction. Now again, really recommend you make the most of this. This is where you can tell the respondent why they are going to be filling out this survey, why it is useful to your organisation and the arts sector in the UK, and also give them any other further information you think will be necessary. But yes, I would definitely encourage you to fill that in, and you just pop it here and you can just type in the box. Custom branding. Now this here is where you can pop in a logo, all right? So again, it gives you the chance to sort of customize it a little bit, and that is something that I would recommend that you do. Survey type. Now this is where we have the time categories. So I know that I briefly sort of brushed over it earlier when we were looking at the different survey types, but basically you have 3 survey types. You've got standard, and this is the one that you want to use for your public respondents. Prior, this is to be taken before the event actually takes place, and this is what you will want your self-assessors to use before the work actually happens. So the idea is that it's sort of an objective setting exercise. And then here we have post. So post-event is designed to be taken after the event has taken place, and it will be taken by both self and peer respondents, and the idea is that those results will then be compared to the prior ones. Okay, you can see where it's going. Now what you can do is you can link it to a prior. Okay, so because this is a post, I can link it to a prior if I want to. At the moment, I'm going to leave it, but this might be something that you would want to consider doing if you want to get more involved in using the toolkit for more sort of tracking of respondents and things like that. But for me right now, I'm going to leave it. Now I can scroll down and you will see that there are 3 different delivery options. Now all of these options require internet access, so that can be Wi-Fi, 3G or 4G, but they do all require an internet access. We fully appreciate that occasionally it won't be appropriate for your organisation to use delivery methods that only require an internet connection. If that is yourself, do get in touch. You will all have a primary contact at Counting What Counts, and of course we do also have the support pages on our website as well. But for the vast majority of organisations, we found that having these 3 delivery options means that they can collect a good number and good quality of responses. So, as they all require the internet, what makes them different from each other? Okay, it's a pretty good question. So, online, this option here is essentially your standard e-survey. Okay, so if you have the online link, it is designed to take 1 response per device, and it essentially generates a link that you would pop in an email and send it to people that have attended your event. Okay, so really good if you've got a box office or ticketing system, that sort of thing. Okay, interviewer. Now this is the link you would use if you were actually going to conduct intercept interviews on site. Okay, so if you've got a member of staff or a volunteer that's going to have a tablet connected to the internet and stand there and actually engage in a dialogue with those that have attended the work and responding to the survey as they are there. Okay, and as you can probably imagine, one of the key differences between interviewer and online is that with interviewer, you can take the survey as many times as you like on 1 device. Then we have display over here. Now, display and interviewer are very similar in the sense that they both can accept many responses on 1 device. However, with display, it is designed to be taken autonomously. So this is a pretty popular option if you are a museum or an exhibition space, gallery, that sort of thing, and you have a static tablet that people go up to and actually record their own responses on. Okay, so that's where the display one comes in. Now there are advanced options here as well. So we've got general. Now, I do want to point this one out to you. So automatically, at the end of a survey, some responses will be displayed to that respondent. They will see a line which shows where they responded to a question, and then the mean average as well to the same question. Now, some people really like this because they think it's a really great talking point. Other organisations prefer to not have it because they don't want the respondent to be questioning their own opinions on a piece of work. Okay, both options are absolutely fine, and it's entirely up to you as to whether you want to include that feature or not. So we can tick it or untick it in accordance with what you like. Options for online delivery. You can see here you can have in a really handy redirection link. So if you wanted the respondent to be directed to your own website after they finished the survey, you can pop in the web address there and they will be taken to it, okay, or anything else. Survey timeout. Now this is quite a handy feature. So if somebody, say they were at their computer and they were filling out the survey and then the kettle boiled or the phone rang and they got up, went to go and answer that, then obviously that survey is sat there open. Now, a survey timeout means that the system, after a certain number of seconds, will realise that the person has essentially left, and it will redirect to the website that's popped up in this address up here. So it is really useful, but again, it's entirely up to you if you want to use it or not. Response expiry. Now, I don't know if you remember that just a moment ago I said that the main thing with the online delivery method is that it will only accept one response per device. Well, you can override that with this response expiry feature, okay? What that means is that, say you wanted to use one survey over a period of time, then you could always say, within, say, 24 hours later, the survey will reset, and so somebody using the same device will be able to access the same survey. Again, entirely up to you if you use it or not, but it's there for you. Interviewer. So this are options for the interviewer delivery method. And I would suggest that you keep this ticked. This basically means here that the person that's actually conducting the interviews on the tablet has a little bit of accountability or responsibility. So they are able to reset a survey if the person that's completing it leaves, or they are able to skip elements of a survey, that sort of thing. And that is something that I personally would keep, just because it gives that volunteer or staff member that's doing the interviewing that little bit of responsibility. Okay, but again, it's up to you and you can always untick it. And then we have an option here for display as well. So again, very similarly to the online one, you can have in a redirection link and also the survey timeout. Now this one's actually got it popped in by default as 180 seconds, but again, it's up to you. You can change that if you like. You save and continue. Okay, so once you've gone through the configuration process, you are now into the design page. Now, I don't know if you remember earlier I said about how the evaluation template that we copied on included all the questions that you needed in order to fulfill your Arts Council mandatory evaluation questions. And here they are here. So because we are in the survey for self and peers, there are 9 dimension questions that are automatically included. And then there's also an if you have any further comments box here. Now, some people might choose to just leave it at this. Keep it at the minimum, and that's absolutely fine. Alternatively, you might want to add your own questions. And that is sort of one of the key features of the platform in general, the Culture Counts platform, is that you can add your own questions. Okay, so because you are using this for an Arts Council project, the Impact Insight Toolkit, you are asked to please not delete any of the questions that are in here. Okay, So you've got these mandatory 9 for self and peer, and then there are a mandatory 6 for public respondents. But if you look over here on the left-hand side, there's the Add Content panel, and there are all different types of questions that you can ask, okay? Just let you have another quick look at that. All the different types that you can ask. So something I want to draw your attention to here is the dimensions option. So that's sort of one of the key points really about the Culture Counts platform, is that it incorporates these standardised statements that are called dimension statements. Now these are all dimension statements. You can see you've got these little squares and it matches the icon over here. So these are basically statements that have been worked on with a variety of arts organisations, academics, researchers and funders that are sort of aiming to capture something specific, a specific outcome that is important in arts and cultural works, okay? So, like I said, these statements have been worked on with a variety of people, and there are the ones that are pre-selected for your survey, but you are welcome to have a little look and see if there are any others you want to include. So you can see here they're divided up into categories. So in the cultural experience section, most of them are already in use. But there might be the odd one here or there that hasn't been used already. So let's say, actually, I think this one could be really important for my festival that I'm going to be evaluating. I'm going to click on this. Use selected dimension, and I'm going to save and close. And you see the question saved, and it has popped it in at the bottom there. Okay, and you can do this with whatever type of questions that you want to include. Okay, now something that I would also like to draw your attention to, as you are here on this demonstration with me, is the logic feature. Now, a logic feature is incredibly useful because it means that you can essentially direct respondents to certain questions in accordance with a certain condition. Okay, now I'm aware that may sound a little bit complicated, so I'm just going to show you. So let's go with yes, no. Let's take a yes, no question. It's quite simple to work with. So let's just say, did you travel by car today? Okay, and you can see we've got the no and the yes I buttons here, and I'm just going to save and close, and that will be added to the bottom of my question schedule. So now I'm going to add a question. It's going to be a number question. I'm going to say, including yourself, how many people were in the car? Okay, let's just say I want to see, you know, if people are maybe doing car shares, that sort of thing. Maybe my festival is sort of eco-friendly, and I want to see how many people are, you know, contributing to that in some way. So now, obviously, this question will be entirely irrelevant if the person did not arrive by car. Okay, so I only want it to show when somebody has said that they did arrive by car, and I will make that happen by using this logic button. Here we go, logic. Some people might call this routing. There are some different words, some different ways of describing it, so up to you as to what word you prefer, but in the Culture Counts platform it's referred to as logic. Now, at the moment this defaults to hide, so I'm going to say I want to change this to show this question when. You can see there are different options here, okay, but I'm going to say the response to another question. I'm going to select the question, did you travel by car today, is equal to yes. So this question, including yourself, how many people were in the car, will only be shown if the response to another question, did you travel by car, is equal to yes. Okay, now I hope that makes sense. We do have a video on logic, solely focused on logic. So if you wanted to go and explore that to get a little bit more information, you can do so. You can find it on our YouTube channel. So do take a look. I'm going to save it and close it. Question saved. And I'm just going to show you as well at the bottom. Here it is. And this little blue squiggly icon means that there is question logic attached to that question. Great. So now let's say that I am completely happy with the design of my survey. Click Save and Continue. Okay, so here we are now on the invite page. So the invite page basically means that you here have the opportunity to create individual links for individual assessors. Now, if this were a public survey, I could just completely ignore this page, all right? Because a public survey does not need individual links for individual assessors, okay? We're going to have, just the standard link that can go out to everybody, and it's all nice and straightforward. Now, when you have self and peers, then you need to give them their own links, okay? And the reason that they need their own URL is because that is what tells the system that they are a self or a peer. Otherwise, they will just think they're public. And as you can imagine, when it comes around to creating your report for Arts Council and generating all those lovely graphs and everything, you don't want your self-assessors to be considered public by the system. So I strongly recommend that you do make sure that you pay attention to the invite page on your self and peer survey or your self-survey. So the first thing we see here is about registering to be a peer. Okay. Now, if you are a Band 2 or 3 NPO, you will know that you need to register at least one peer to the Culture Counts platform. Okay. And you will know how to do that previously, so I won't go into that in too much depth, but just so that you know, here is the link that you can click on, or else here you can copy and paste the link. It's entirely up to you whether you want to register yourself or you want to send the link to colleagues. But that's where you register. And now if I scroll down a bit, you will see something that is called the peer matching resource. Now the peer matching resource is essentially a database, okay? And it's a database of all the people that have signed up here, have then been popped into a database, and you are able to approach these people and ask if they will come to your work and provide a peer review. So we've already discussed the concept of a peer, and a peer is somebody that has not been directly involved in the curation or creation of the work, but that you highly value and respect their professional opinion. So you can see here that automatically the system has tagged combined arts, multidisciplinary festivals and programs, dance, and that's because it has been spoken to by the properties tab where I popped in that information at the very beginning. Don't know if you remember that. But it's directly spoken to this, so it's already filtered them down. I believe that at the time of recording, there are 684 peers registered to this system. Now, obviously, you could, if you wanted to, go through each peer and decide who you want to invite. Now, I don't know about you, but that feels like quite time-consuming, and actually, I would rather filter them down so that I only have the peers displayed to me that are actually going to be relevant for my work. So I've got combined arts, festivals, dance, wonderful, keep it at that, location, and now here, just to make it very clear, with the location filter, this is not where they are based, this is where they are prepared to travel to. Okay, so you need to bear that in mind when you're looking at peers, okay, because it might be that, so in this instance, we're going to be based in the New Forest, which is in the southeast of England, and it might be that there is somebody on here that has selected they will travel to the southeast, but they're actually based in the northeast. So it might not be that convenient for them. So do just bear that in mind. So I'm going to say, so the location is the southeast. As I said, it's in the New Forest. And you will see that the number of pages has dropped down to 15. So already we have filtered down the assessors. And you will see that there are many different types of peers. What I would like to mention to really draw your attention to here is that, yes, a lot of them are from Arts Council funded NPOs, which is great, but there are also some in here that are independent and that have maybe registered onto this resource, from out of their own pocket, if you like. They've decided off their own back that they want to be involved, which is great. So it really does give you the opportunity to connect with people that otherwise you might not have done. Okay, so I think this one could be interesting. Outdoor arts producer. That sort of works with my festival, with the dance festival. So you can see there's biography there. And so there's a little bio of what that person has done. Also, you've got specialisms, which locations they're prepared to travel to. The additional expertise section is where if they were a specialist in participatory works, that sort of thing, then that might populate. I'm going to select this person, click close. You'll see there's a lovely little tick there. And if I scroll up, you'll see it says one selected. Now I can go through and select many. Okay. Now, to be completely honest, if I were you, I would actually invite more people than I hope will attend, simply because there will be some that unfortunately won't be able to make it for whatever reason, and therefore, sort of inviting a couple more than you actually hope will attend can be pretty useful. So in order for there to be enough peer assessors in your evaluation, to tick your mandatory evaluation box, you need to have at least one peer attending. Now, we really recommend that you have 3 or more wherever possible, because that will, really sort of broaden the the data pool, really, and it will mean that it isn't just one person's opinion that's being graphed and used as a data point. So I would just really encourage you to think about that. And then you click on invite, and you'll see here that this is the invitation editor. So again, subject, do make the most of these spaces here where you can customize it. Okay. Event details, so event name, the start date, all that sort of thing. Your details as well, so they can get in touch with you. And what you'll notice on the right hand side, this preview here will populate. So you can check that it looks as you would like it to before you click send. As it is, I'm not going to send this invitation to those people, because obviously this is sort of a bit of a mock-up. It's an example that I'm showing you. So I'm actually going to click close, but you would need to go through all of these steps in order to send your invitations. So let's just scroll down. So that was a lot of talk there about using the peer matching resource. But again, as we've said before, we're trying to make this quite a flexible tool, and you do not need to use the peer matching resource, okay? That is not necessary. It might be that, as I've said, I've just invited there 6 people through the matching resource, and there might be a couple of people that I actually know from my own professional network. Maybe they're not in this database, but I know that they would still be really great peers for my particular piece of work. So I could drop them an email outside of the system, I could give them a call outside of the system, and once they've accepted, I can pop their email address in here. So I'm just going to say external@peer.com. Okay, so that is the email address of the peer that I know from outside of the peer matching resource that is going to attend my event and provide a peer review. And I have to say, I personally always think it's great to get a combination. Okay, so if you've got a couple of people in your own network that you think would be great peers, and you can also get a couple from the matching resource, I think that's a really great place to be, because you have a much sort of wider perspective of professional opinions. So that's how I would go. But as I've said before, it is up to you. And here we have the self-assessors. So this is where you'd pop the email addresses of people that are within the organisation. So these are people that will have been directly involved in the curation or creation, and therefore they will have sort of, that emotional investment in the piece. Okay, so that's going to be me in this instance, Sean at self.com. Okay, and I'm going to click save and continue. So it's thinking about it. And now we are here on the summary page. So the summary page, as you can imagine, shows you a bit of a breakdown of the different types of questions you've got. It also provides you with the standard survey links. So remember, as I said earlier, these will all be recorded as public responses. So do not use these if you want the person to be recorded as self or peer. Instead, you will notice that they each have their own URL generated. So we've got the peer list, external@peer.com, and they have a link here that's been generated for them especially, as has the self. Now, just to let you know, if you were to invite people through the peer matching resource, their email address would only appear here if they had accepted your invitation. Okay, so as you saw, I didn't actually invite those 6 people when I was demonstrating the matching resource to you. But if I had, they still wouldn't have appeared here unless they had then accepted. Okay, so it's important that you know that. So you're not surprised if later on you go into here and you say, oh my goodness, why is there nobody on this peer assessor list when I know I invited some? It's because they have not yet accepted. Now you'll see here it says invitation not sent. Invitation not sent. So one of the handy features about the Culture Counts platform is that you can send this survey through the platform like this. You can see it here. And again, you can customize it. You can do a test email to yourself, and you can click send email. Now what happens is when you send that, this little orange button here will update to, I believe it's blue, and it says survey response pending. And then when the survey has been completed, it will change to green and it will say survey completed. Now, why is that particularly useful? Well, it means that you can see who has and who has not completed their survey. So say, for instance, that you were doing a ticketed event and you had given every peer 2 tickets. Okay, so you were gifting 2 tickets to each peer, sort of as almost as a payment, I suppose, for them attending and providing a review. Now, if somebody did not complete their survey, you might want to go back to them and say, oh, sorry, polite nudge, all the rest of it. And this is a really good way for you to know if they have done it or not. Okay. Now, of course, here I should also address the issue of anonymity. If you only have one peer and one self, then of course you will know the exact responses that peer and that self gave, because they will be recorded in the system as peer said XYZ, self said ABC. However, if you have multiple peers, so say let's just pluck a number out, let's say you have 10 peers and you have 10 responses, there is a 1 in 10 chance that you will be able to guess, okay, which peer said what, because the system will muddle them up accordingly. So, with regards to anonymity, the system does promote anonymity, and it is definitely preferred that you use it in that way. However, if you do make the decision to only have one peer or to only have oneself, then of course you are essentially removing that that layer of anonymity. Okay, so just to make sure you are aware of that. So just as a quick recap on this page, these survey links will always be recorded as public. Okay, the system doesn't know that you've given a title that says survey for self and peer, or that the title says public. Okay, that doesn't actually make any difference. That's purely the title of the survey. These links will always be public. If you want somebody to be registered as a peer or a self, you will need to create a unique link for them. Okay, you can see it here. And I've already said about sending it through the system. However, if for some reason that doesn't work for you, and it's not always going to work for everybody, then you can use the little copy icon here. And you can just copy the link and paste it into your own email. And it's entirely up to you. Of course, if you do that, the system doesn't know it's been sent, and so this little tracking gizmo won't update. But that's not to say that it won't work better for you. It's entirely up to you. You will also notice that there is a little eye icon next to every link, and that is the preview button, okay? And the preview button means that you can see how the survey will look for people. And if you want to send it to somebody to get their approval, then you can. So for instance, if I just click on this now, this is the preview link. And you'll see it's loading, and it even has a little pop-up there. It's a preview survey, no response will be saved. And if I wanted to, I could just copy that address bar, paste it into an email and send it to a colleague or whomever would benefit from seeing this survey and giving it the green light, as it were. Okay. So here we are back on this page here. Okay, so that is all how to create your surveys. And now I'm just going to show you what it looks like when you actually have responses. So bear with me one moment, please, as I switch accounts, and I will do a bit of a Blue Peter moment. Here's one I made earlier. So I'm going to log out of that. I'm going to log into my normal account. You'll notice it takes a little while to load just because it is rather full. There are quite a few evaluations in there, as you can imagine. I've worked with Counting What Counts for about 4.5 years now, so I have quite a few in here. So bear with me one moment just whilst I get here's one I made earlier. So here's one called New Tester, Lizzie Wears Red. So I know I've already mentioned it, but I will just repeat it to make sure that you are very aware. This evaluation is purely one that I have created. All the data that's held within it, I tend to call fake data because it's purely me just popping in responses so that there is data for you to look at. Okay, just to make it very clear. So you will see here that we have the evaluation and the 3 surveys within it. And this looks very similar to how it looked for the evaluation template that I showed you with Arts Councils. And let's just say that it all has gone through and everybody has responded to the appropriate surveys, all has gone well, and I now want to have a look at the report. I'm going to click on Go to Report. And you can see here that it is now going to load some lovely graphs for us, and it's going to show us a bit of a breakdown. So you can see here we've got the dimension averages for the public survey, stacked level of agreement. You can see them down the left-hand side. You've got demographics so that you can sort of see a bit of a breakdown in accordance with, there you go, you can see here the gender breakdown. So 69% female, 23 and 7.69. Respondent comparison is where you can compare responses in accordance with their demographics. You can also here compare in accordance with their respondent type as well. So sorry, this is probably my network having a funny. So you can see here that I've got the public gave captivation score 72, peer 66, and the self gave 58. Okay, so this, I would encourage you just to have a little bit of an explore of this, because there is a lot of information contained in here, but all of these graphs are designed to give you insight, and they're all slightly different. And what you'll notice is that you can download each chart individually using this little download icon. Also, this orange button up here enables you to download all the charts as a zip folder, or to download all the charts into a PDF, or to get all the raw data. And these all have their own uses, so I tend to say that downloading the charts into a zip file is really good if you are creating a presentation and you want to be able to insert graphs as you choose. A PDF is great if you then want to be able to just quickly send something to a colleague, for instance. And the raw data is great if you want to conduct additional analysis. Okay, so they each have their place, and it's entirely up to you. Now, if you are going to be using your evaluation as one of your mandatories for Arts Council, you will need to prepare an insights report. So I'm going to click on that here. Now, what you need to know with an insights report is that it will only load if you have collected the appropriate data. Okay, so if you've got your public responses, you've got yourself, you've got your peer, if everything has been collected appropriately, then it will populate appropriately. So, and again, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because we have a whole video purely dedicated to the insights report, but I just wanted to give you a little overview here. So we have here the title. This is from that properties section again. I don't know if you remember. It sort of adds those tags to it for usefulness. And the same here. This is also from the properties section. These charts basically present the mean average. So you can see here that the grey is self-prior. Okay. And then the green is the public. So you can see, for instance, self-prior. In this instance, I can see that the self-assessors had anticipated that the work would be more captivating than the public perceived it to be. And it's the opposite if you look at distinctive. So you can see the self line there is lower than the public line, which is a bit out here. So basically the center point is 0, and then on the line, the outer point would be 100, 100, 100, center point 0. And the mean averages are populated along those lines. So it's a really handy comparison tool for you. So you can see, what the different respondent categories thought about the work. And this is something here that's pretty similar, but it's presented in a bar chart format. And here, if you have a look, you've got creative intentions. So you can write your creative intentions in here. Do make the most of these text boxes that are available to you. This is where we look at margin of error and the variation. And this is based on the attendance figure, okay, that you popped into your properties tab at the very beginning. And here we can see, again, we've got the mean averages, we've got the median average, and the interquartile range as well. So there is a lot of information available in these insights reports. I'm aware that it can seem a little bit overwhelming, especially if this is your first glance at the platform and you're doing it all in one go. But please rest assured that we do have individual videos on all of these different elements of the platform. And again, you also have here the text box for you to pop in your insights. And a handy little appendix. Now, when you click on Submit here, and click OK, The data that is underpinning this report will go to Arts Council. Okay, you saying okay is essentially taking the actual data that underpins the report and saying, here you go, Arts Council, this is, for you. The report itself, you will need to save as a PDF and then email it to your relationship manager along with any other materials that you want them to have. Okay, so you might have collected additional demographic data somewhere, or you might have, a whole document, a larger document on the intentions behind the work, or some qualitative testimonials. Anything like that, you can add to it and send to your relationship manager. And the whole idea of this is that it's a starting point for a conversation with them. I'm going to click cancel here because, as you can imagine, I don't want to send this fake data to Arts Council. There we go. So I think that will probably be all from me today. But just as a little reminder, I do these live every month, and we have webinars every month as well. The theme varies, and also it might not be a webinar, it might actually just be a training video that is uploaded to our YouTube channel, but there is always something going on, so keep your eyes peeled, and yes, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take a look at our Twitter, because we will often announce things on there as well. And yes, thank you ever so much for bearing with me on this, and I hope it's been useful to you. Don't forget to get in touch if you have any questions at all, and to make the most of the resources that are available on the website. Thank you very much, everybody, and happy evaluating.